So, in our 10th installment of the Kedoshim Initiative Podcast, I did a ranking of my top 8 Christian themed superheroes from the 50 plus Christian themed comics we have covered on the channel thus far. But what's a superhero story without a supervillain to face off against? Like, if they don't have a supervillain, they would still be a superhero. There may not be any difference. But let's be honest. A hero's journey is only as compelling as the villain they face off against. Saving cats from trees, out and burning buildings, stopping bank robberies and stuff, and being a good Samaritan can really go so far until it gets boring. We need threats and stakes, such as an Antichrist sanctioned AI program that outsmarts everybody, including the Antichrist himself, in its mission to eradicate the world of humans. Or how about a Nephilim who lived like a god in the days of Noah, is resurrected in the 21st century, and decides to go on a warpath through the multiverse? Yes, you heard that one correct. That story is wild. Or how about a young woman so fed up of her Christian upbringing, decided to dabble a bit in yoga, witchcraft, and mysticism, gets possessed, gets delivered by some Christian superheroes who cast the demons out of her during a confrontation, which leads to her cussing them out because she enjoys the power that she was getting from the demons. Then she goes back and gets repossessed and signs her soul away through a ritual deal to the Antichrist, bounding her soul for all eternity. Or what about facing off against the capital D devil himself, who was tricked into being trapped into the body of a woman? Yeah. The Christian fiction I've come across can get wild with the hero concepts and even wilder with the villains. So in this episode of the Kedoshim Initiative Podcast, I'll be sharing my list of the top 8 villains from the Christian themed comics we have covered on the channel. So welcome to the 12th installment of the Kedoshim Initiative Podcast. As you guys know, for the regulars who have tuned in for all the podcasts so far, we have to do a bit of formality and catch up. Let me know how you guys going in the comment section. I've been doing good, been doing really great. In the 10th episode, I think the weekend of the 10th episode of the podcast, I was actually doing my first driver's test. That weekend was my birthday, I believe. And yesterday, Friday, the 26th of July, I passed my driver's test. So now I can legally drive on the roads here in Trinidad and Tobago. In regards to other cool stuff, personal passion projects, we have been getting some awesome concept art. It's kind of funny. I including my own for my own creative projects, the villains for my game, Parables of the Set Apart Deception. We have 3 villains in there. I think it's appropriate to plug it in a video talk podcast installment talking about villains. We've got full concept art from Justin Fernandez over on Instagram for the wolf in sheep clothing, the angel of light, and the roaring lion. I'm only giving you the snippet of the wolf in sheep's clothing because that one is awesome. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below and let me know how you guys been for the past month. Let's keep this monthly checkup going for the next installment of the podcast. Even though right now it's only Corbin that comments. Corbin, dude, I love all your comments, and we got a lot of lurkers. And for the lurkers who just listen through the podcast, as I said in the last installment and in the installment before, I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. So yeah, that's enough of me being sappy. Let's get into evil and all these villains from the different Christian theme comics we've covered, starting with number 8 on the list is the Devil from Alpha Red. The Devil from Alpha Red is really and truly my least favorite of all the villains we've covered because of the way he was implemented. The Alpha Red story is mainly anchored on the apostles, yes, the capital A apostles that walked alongside Jesus got resurrected and blessed with immortality and um formed a secret organization, kind of something like Shield, that tracks down the devil throughout the ages for 2000 years. They kept tabs on the devil, and somewhere along coming into the 21st century in the 1990s or something like that, I think 1980s or something like that, I'm not remembering 100%, the devil's right hand man betrayed him by casting a spell on the devil, trapping him into the body of a woman. Yes. And yeah, and that demon decided they didn't take the place of the devil, but like try to run. Was like he was him for a while. Yeah, the demon became him for a while, meaning that he was like in charge and had all the other demons following and taking orders for him, while the devil did like put things together in the background in order to enact this grand plan of mass destruction to like invested into these black ops. Is it black ops? Was that a black ops thing? He invested into this sort of like black. Is it black ops? Underground, secret underground, like evil organizations that, in order to build these like super tanks and the that would go to destroy the world, and orchestrated events where all world leaders would be in this place that he could then go and destroy all of them. I believe I'm remembering the story of Alphared correctly. Alfred was a story I have talked about it a couple of times over, even in my podcast installment with the author. That it felt like a story where the Christian insertment was an afterthought, because I did rip into it both story wise and theologically. Like theologically, it stopped making sense after a while. I was just going along the ride because I bought all the comics and I love the art. I love James Nguyen's art. James Nguyen is a phenomenal, one of my favorite artists. Story wise, I told him on the podcast. The story wise, it did get better coming to the end, but at the very end with the whole plot with the devil, it felt undercooked. The devil at the end of it, even though like the full five issues of the series was all about hyping up the devil and building up the devil. By the time it actually like came around to him and especially how he was defeated, I really like the main character's character development. Wes, Alpha Red himself, his character development was really good. I enjoyed that. But at the end, the devil just felt like villain number two of the week rather than like the capital D devil. It felt weak. Yeah, I remember saying that in my review of it. But the idea of it, I do respect the idea of it, though there wouldn't be a like perspective that I ever go down. I don't think, even with Bill Ropp or, well, with the other stories that we do, none of them actually feature the devil directly. Because even with like stories about facing off the Antichrist, from to my knowledge from the conversations I've had with them in prior interviews, and at least the way they've written the comic, I mean, the Remnant is 30 issues in. The devil is too grandiose to really have Christian superheroes fight him in like the way you would see Batman face off against the Joker. It's too like the devil is too grandiose for that. You can do it as henchmen or people empowered by his. They've done with people empowered by like demonic forces, which we will get into as we go along the tier list. But it's weird to see Christians face off against like the capital D devil. And the way it was done in Alpha Red, I like the concept of it was novel, but the execution fell flat. But I did come into the end of the story, I did enjoy it. It was one of those stories that grew on me as it went along, as well. James' art was phenomenal. I love James' art throughout the entire series. So yeah, that's the devil. That's the devil. That's number 9, the devil from Alpha Red. Number 8 is Zos the Nephilim from Urg the Battler. Urg the Battler is a series that is set during the antediluvian world. I can't remember. I think it was nine. They dated it 900 years before the flood, 900 years before the flood of Noah, where this family, this their daughter married a Nephilim. And she was one of the many wives of the Nephilim, but when she was with child, when she got pregnant for the Nephilim, she told the Nephilim named Zos that she was pregnant for him, and the Nephilim said, "That's great, that's awesome. Now we're gonna sacrifice the child to the gods to ensure favor." And she was not about child sacrificing, nor was her parents about child sacrificing. So when they got that information, and that's what the Nephilim wanted to do with the child, they turned and they ran. They ran from the Nephilim, and then they went and hired this Ug the battler, this great warrior of the time. Yeah, they went and hired Ug the battler, this great warrior of the time, to go help escort them from where they were with the Nephilim to a safe haven. I believe the safe haven was, yeah, to escort them to a safe haven so that far away from the Nephilim. But as they ran and the Nephilim got wind that they were running, the Nephilim chased them, which is what the Nephilim's name is Zos. And a lot of persons draw that kind of like comparison of Zos and Zeus, because Zos wielded lightning and everything. Zos was a lightning wielder and all that. So they ran away from the Nephilim with protecting them. And it caught up to them a couple of times. It caught up to them a couple times throughout the story, and those confrontations were the artwork for those. Who was that? I think it was some more. I think I butchered it because I don't have the comic open. I am talking freehand. The artwork for Zos, especially the Zos and Urg battles, even though the full comic was in black and white art, it was really well done. Zos's design, the kind of allure of Zos and the big threat of Zos as he chased them. They kept him for like the first two, I think for the first two issues, halfway through the second issue, they kept him silhouetted that you never really saw his face or anything. You just saw like this big, powerful, evil presence until they unveiled him in the most epic comic shot of a Nephilim we've had so far. Of a Nephilim riding a T-Rex into battle. It that panel was chef's kiss. That panel was one of my favorite comic panels from all the comics we've covered. That one is, now I say that a lot. I think I say that a lot. I mean, I know it's in my top five of comic panels of the villain of the story that we've covered. But that thus was no joke. He chased them down, and he had many confrontations with Ugg, and then the final confrontation they had was in front of the Garden of Eden, the gate that leads to the Garden of Eden, where they ran to they were on the run, and then the girl who was pregnant with an Nephilim child decided to they know well how they played in the story. They met Seth, which is Adam's the son of Adam, and it's common knowledge where the Garden of Eden is located. It's just that no one ever dares to venture out into there. And while being chased by him and knowing that if they get caught they're gonna die, they decided to run all the way to the yeah, run while they were on horseback. So yeah, they ran all the way to the Garden of Eden in hopes that the cherubim angel at the gate of the Garden of Eden will protect them. And the cherubim angel was like, "That is your problem, ma'am. That ain't my problem." And I was like, that was one of the funniest comic panels that even in the review fade, one of the commenters, one of our normal commenters, Ernest, he said that, it would have been cool if the angel did help them, but the angel told us to say, like, "I have my orders, I have my post, not my problem." Not my problem. And the angel was like, "You bring that upon yourself." And then it was like really cool. The thing about it too with Sus is, well, it's Evan David writing. So it was a lot of throughout it. John, the girl who was pregnant for the Nephilim, had a lot of self reflection on the fact that what she did, she knew what the potential outcome would have been for it, but she still wanted to give in to say, like, she knew what she was getting involved with when she decided to pursue the Nephilim, to eventually get married by the Nephilim. And I can't remember the exact word. It was a really, 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 really nice, well put together conversation between her and Urg, and how she felt, the guilt that she felt for, well, her sin. Was it really conspiracy? Yeah, the guilt that she felt for what she did, that led to all that with her getting badly damaged. I think he got stabbed by Zos at one point and everything. And it's like she could have avoided it, she could have prevented it, but she still decided to give into it. And Urgo was trying to like comfort her, saying, "Well, no, you didn't. Like, we all make mistakes and whatnot." But she's like, "Yeah, but I knew the mistake I was making. I intentionally made it." It was a really like, get Urg the Battler. It is 4 issues. Yes, 4 issues long over on Star Wars Comics. I highly recommend it, especially for the dialogue of it, as well as the well, after the final issue, Evan David put in a lot of kind of like what the meaning of the story is, kind of panels. I didn't cover it in my review because I was outside the scope of how I like to do my reviews, or like the letters to the letters from the editor or letters from the author, kind of stuff I excluded from the reviews unless it is pertinent to it. But it was a really good breakdown, especially like of the salvation story and all those things. It was really well done. So Zos is number 8 on my list. Highly recommend you check out Ugh, the Battler. Short 4 issues by Evan David over at Star Wars Comics. At number 7, we have Yoke. Now, Yoke is on this list primarily. Yoke is separated from like her. Usually, with characters like that, I would group them into like what their group is, like I did with heroes. So, like the regulators and all the stuff, I group all of them together as one because they're usually presented as usually presented as an entire group. But Yoke is on this list because Bill went insane with her character design for a Christian comic. Yoke's character design for me is one of the best demons I've seen in Christian fiction, and that is a wild statement to say in regards to Christian fiction that a demon is well designed. But Yoke character design terrifies me more than a demon in Marvel. When I did the review of the issue that really went into her backstory, I did a comparison between the Midnight Suns version of Lilith from Marvel versus Yoke from The Revenant. And we have some background information on Yoke that can be found on the Tribulation Task, or the Remnant Wiki, which is that Sarah was a young woman seeking spiritual enlightenment. Bored with a Lutheran Christian upbringing, she began exploring Eastern mysticism. One day, when meditating, she met her spirit guide, which convinced her to learn and master yoga. Sarah became an astute yogi and became heavily involved in practices such as Reiki. While pursuing her daily outer body meditation, she found that when she re entered her body, she was no longer in control of herself. A spirit guide revealed itself as the demon Azrael and would now be her master. Feeling defeated, Sarah surrendered and went through a mental, spiritual, and physical transformation. Possessed by the Kundalini demon, Sarah became known as Yoke. Now, I think you could get the issue with the Yoke. I think that was her backstory before she appeared the in Parables of the Remnant issue 3, if I remember correctly, where she had a run-in with the apostle. She was just at a park. Apostle and Grok were just going through the park, and Sarah was having a yoga session with a bunch of people in her yoke form, and the Apostle and Grok confronted Sarah and told her, like, this is, you are possessed and being deceived, let me deliver you or whatnot. And the Apostle delivered Sarah from her demons, but when she was delivered, she cussed them out, slapped them, and ran off. And it was a whole thing. I think they not think. The whole premise was about like some people would accept salvation and other people just want to go down their own path. They don't care. They on a power trip from what they get from these demonic entities that they allow to come into their life. And Sarah was the epiphany of that, where afterwards, even being after being delivered, she decided to go fill herself willingly, fill herself back up to demonic entities, do her rituals and whatnot. And her while doing one of the rituals, she invited the Antichrist appeared to her, the Antichrist of the story, because Remnant is a we have 30 the Remnant has 30 issues, and we've done 30 issues of reviews for the Remnant. But in a nutshell, the Remnant is a story about the premature rise of the Antichrist, who is trying to enact the tribulation period before his appointed time, and a group of heroes have taken the mantle of the remnant to put a stop to his plans. And Yoke, well, continuing, Yoke and Sarah at the time invited the Antichrist in, well, to converse with her. It came through, well, that's one of the cool things with the remnant is that with all the like pagan religions and all those things, they use the same kind of demonic entities that appear to them. So Apollyon would appear to them as they while they are calling out to their false gods or whatnot, and it appeared to them in the form of it appeared to them appeared to her. Jeez, get me that mix up. It appeared to her and told her that yes, I could give you even more power. Actually, the demons that the apostle casted out of you reported to the apostle saying that we got cast out of the woman again. And the apostle was like, all right, I fed up with this. I fed up with it. Always getting her and casting you guys out. Let me go and talk to her. Let's see if we could get her to go to the next level. And she said, she professed to him that she was ready. She fed up of her power being taken away. And she wants to go to the next level. And the next level is what the Remnants version of the Remnants fictional version of the Mark of the Beast. At least that is what I prescribe it to be after Ask Bill about that. Well, if you're watching this, do clarify for us in the comments. I believe I did I actually I have to double check and verify that. But it's the red baptism, which is a ritual that bonds the person's soul for all eternity, while the Antichrist gives them even more power. It's a kind of blood. I believe it's blood, like it's a blood ritual. And when they emerge, fill themselves up with demonic entities, and when they submerge, submerge. Submerge is going down, right? And emerge is coming out. So when they submerge into the pool of blood, good lord, my brain had a lapse moment. When they submerge into the pool of blood, they're filled up with demonic entities and all that. And when they emerge, which is coming out of the blood pool, they return, well, quote unquote, reborn with the new power, and they take the new name and mantle. So Jez, not Jezebel. There is a character named Jezebel who went through the same process after her son was killed by a Mexican cartel. She cried out to whatever gods, and the Antichrist appeared before her, say, I will give you more power, I will give you power, and all this. All you have to do is just accept it and come into me and stuff. And Jezebel took the offer. Same process like you, got bounded, extremely powerful, but she can't show her. Jezebel can't show her face because if she takes off a mask, anything that looks upon her face dies. So she always has a mask on. And well, Yoke, Sarah, same kind of thing. She bounded herself and she turned into this alien looking kind of thing with all these snakes and chakra and all that. It's a really this, as much as it's very demonic, it's one of the coolest demonic designs I've seen in within the Christian fiction that we have covered. So that is Yoke, the young woman seeking spiritual enlightenment, bored of a Christian upbringing, that decided to go and dabble in witchcraft and mysticism, and in turn lost her soul. It's a sad story, but unfortunately, it's a story you hear a lot from a lot of people. Gladly, like now, like in our current day and time, people could still get asked for forgiveness, repentance. There's still consequences to the things they were dabbling in, but at least there's still the chance of a redemption and salvation. But within the remnant universe, like the Antichrist is on the earth doing his do, doing his do, doing stuff, and a lot of them who bound themselves to him lost his soul. That is also a really cool thing where what really cool storyline where one of the sons of the heroes, I think I covered it in the last covered it in the last podcast. Check out Blue Flame issue 0, the son of two of the Christian superheroes. It was a really cool take on train up a child in the way that they should go, so that when they grow old they don't depart from what you taught them. Is a proverb. I can't remember the exact verse, but he decided to join the Antichrist because he wanted fame and fortune, and in turn he almost like he got that. The Ramban issue 4, that's the issue you have to check out, where they fought the remnant fought against Yoke and the Watchers and Apollyon over the soul of Blue Flame, meaning that they fought to keep Apollyon back from taking Pink Spades and Flame Shot Son, well, Blue Flame, from going and doing the same blood ritual that will bound his soul forever. But yeah, that's Yoke. And onto her other soul bounded friends. I don't think they're friends, they fight each other a lot. Onto the other soul bounded villains of the remnant that is actually being portrayed in the public as the superheroes and the good guys of the times that come to usher in peace and which is peace and justice and everything, is the Watchers of Apollyon, which are the main bad guys of the remnant. And the backstory, the kind of remnant canon lore behind it, from the taking this information from Secret Files issue 0, is in the antediluvian world, the rogue angel Azazel wreaked havoc on Earth. He taught the humans forbidden arts and magic. Among his wicked exploits was the mixing of genes. He mixed plants with animals, angels with humans, and other demented works. He recorded all his exploits in a journal. This journal was handed down through time and maintained by an ancient cult of Nephilim. Rumors say that King Solomon viewed the book and engaged in some of the arcane spells contained within it. The book has been passed down to Apollyon, who has begun to put some of the forbidden knowledge into practice. The resurrection of dead Nephilim has been his passion project. Hiring elite Project Paperclip survivors and the world's most notorious scientists, Apollyon has cloned superhuman bodies. To fill these bodies with the spirit, he used Azazel's red baptism ritual. Azazel. What did I just say? Azazel? Azazel? I didn't say that. Azazel. I think it's Azazel. We'll go with Azazel. The red baptism is performed by submerging a human or soulless husk into the red blood pool. The pool contains demonic entities and lost spirits of deceased Nephilim. When submerged, the participant agrees to swear the eternal loyalty to Apollyon and in turn Satan himself. The participant emerges from the baptism with superhuman abilities courtesy of the demonic entity now soul attached. The process is painful and produces an acute sense of terror. The newly emerged Eps, which in the Remnant universe is enhanced superperson, kind of like metahumans in DC, or metahumans in DC is the only comparison, is eternally lost and unredeemable. What the participants do not realize is that not only they have submitted their souls, but also their free will, as Apollyon can impose his will and desires on the Esp. Well, I say Esp as ESP, but I just like to say Esp more like recorded. But the Watchers are the group of individuals that have taken the red baptism in the Remnant universe or are poised to take the red baptism. Currently, the current members, as of current publication, I think I am like 4 issues behind on the Remnant, but from the 30 issues I've covered, Nephilim 6, which is a reborn Nephilim into the 21st century through, as I read it, the Nephilim cloning program that takes place in the Remnant. Then there is Weaponized, which is an Egyptian mythology-esque type of villain. Weaponized. Apollyon appeared to him while he was venerating the Egyptian gods and gave him the opportunity of true power and all that, and he took the red baptism and he became weaponized. I believe there is an upcoming Parables of the Remnant issue 9 short story with him going off against Raytheon of the Remnant. I believe that, I don't know if that's in Kickstarter, if that is going to Kickstarter, if it was just one of those comics, but just decided to just push into release. Then there is on the Watchers, there's Point Blank. There's Point Blank, who is this archer type of mercenary who was, when he's like Apollyon's kind of like main, at least the way he was written in one of the Secret Files books, he hasn't had any mainline story appearances. The Remnant has a lot of characters who haven't had any mainline story appearances. They mainly appear in Secret Files, but he is a kind of like assassin, a bow and arrow assassin that never misses his mark after taking the red baptism. That's like his more form of superpower that he was quote unquote blessed with after doing the red baptism. There's Captain Thunder. I don't know if he is part of, if he's a watcher or not, at least in Distant Thunder issue 1, which was a comic from the Remnant I highly recommend. It's a really fun read by the one and only, written by the one and only Don Perkins. I really like Don's writing style and stuff for that. I don't know if he is a if he took the red baptism or not, but he is seen a lot with the Watchers. And the next one, who is gonna have a cool storyline coming out soon, is Warriora. I think it's pronounced Warriora. That's how Evan David pronounced it when he was talking about it, because that story is written by Evan David and it is going into, I think it's soon, the marketing for it is hyping up. But basically, in a nutshell, I describe it as a what if story of what if Wonder Woman realized that all that she believed about the Greek gods and whatnot was a lie implanted to her by the Antichrist, and she decided to become a Christian hero. It sounds wild. That is the story concept. That is, in a nutshell, that is the story concept. And the artwork for it by JB Reyes so far has been, it's been coming together really, really nicely. I mean, I'm talking like if I have background information into things, but I don't have background information to it. I just see what is being advertised in the Remnant group, and that story is it's looking to be it's looking like it's going to be really, really nice. I'll review it once the issue comes out officially. But the Watchers are just your standard super villains. It's like they're just your run of the mill super villains. At least the way they're presented. Some of them, none of them have really had any like big grandiose solo confrontations with the heroes. A lie. A lie. I repent. That's a lie. There's that epic battle between Nephilim 6 and the Apostle from the Remnant issue 2. And then they had a couple big confrontations, such as the fight over Blue Flame Soul. Yeah, that was a mind lapse. Yeah, they've had big confrontations against the Remnant. In the most recent published issue of the Remnant issue 4, the fight for Blue Flame Soul, the Watcher, there was like a direct clash between the Watchers and the Remnant, and it was really, really well done. I enjoyed that issue a lot. And then solo confrontations. We haven't had much solo confrontations as yet. We've had like Jade pop up taking on some of the folks from last gen. Jade is this I think there was a job at her calling her a Discom Mortal Kombat character. But yeah, they had Jade taking on some of the last gen folks. What else we had? Yeah. But yeah, that's the Watchers. They're just the premise of the Antichrist assembling his own superhero team and presenting it as like they come to usher in world peace and everything. Even though these things they look demonic as can be, the world endorses them and sides with them because they are on the right side of history, kind of thing. It's a direct social commentary of what the world is like today. I don't know. You can ask Bill. Bill, if you're listening to this podcast episode, let us know. But yeah, that is the Watchers coming in at number 6. I realized after I started recording and I realized that this is not really in order of my favorites. And on 1 and 2 are in order of who are my favorites, but so far looking at what I put down on my script, four below, 4 to 8 have not been in order. Because Yoke would be above the Watchers, and Zus would be above the Watchers. So yeah. But a half an hour in and I don't want to change it. I don't want to keep this free flowing. So yeah, we continue, and that is the Watchers at number 6. Number 5 is Smite from the Biblical Proportion story over at Starcross Comics, created by Joe Spicer, with the story currently being written by Evan David. So Joe has a thing with for Nephilims. A lot of his stories include Nephilims. There's Starstruck the Nephilim, and then there's Smite the Nephilim. I don't know what other Nephilim he has up his sleeve. We will be interviewing Joe in next month's installment of the podcast, and that's definitely a question I'm gonna ask him on what is his thing with all these Nephilims. But Hellsmite is this Nephilim from, I believe, the antediluvian period, because the Sacros comic stories uh, seemingly take place in an interconnected universe, like one mainline universe for Red Talon, Black Blossom. What is Black Blossom? Black Blossom, and all other major Starcross stories. They all take place within the same universe. When Tribulation Task Force was under Starcross, they were part of the Starcross universe, but Bill Robb split from Starcross Comics a long time ago. So the Remnant universe is separate. But with Hellsmite, the cool thing with Biblical Proportions issue 2, when they began to introduce who he is more, because issue 1, it was confused. His introduction in issue 1 was very, the way it was implemented, at least panel wise, it was really confusing. But in issue 2, it gave the character more backstory, that he was a Nephilim who ruled. I just like just they don't directly say it in the comic. There's a lot of things that are implied but not written out, and I just like to imply it that he ruled as a god back then, because I was like, that's how they presented Zus, and Urg was in that battle against him. So that means it's around the same time as Zus. It was Urg and all. You guys probably realize by now I'm a lore nerd for any kind of fictional universe, even like as small as in comics we cover on the channel. So I dive a little bit too deep into the lore, even though there's not much there. A lot of things are left up to interpretation, kind of thing. They had an entire battle of those from way back then, which is we were dated 900 years before the flood. Around 900 years before the flood, you have all of these heroes that team up to take down Hellsmite, who was a big Nephilim that was ruling back then. And they killed him, but 2,000 years, that's not 2,000 years later. That would be more than 2,000 years later. That would be about in the 21st century. In the 21st century, Hellsmite was resurrected by Lord Horn, which I think is another Antichrist archetype style character. That was a funny thing. I remember saying to Joe in her backstories that there's a lot of Antichrist in this within these stories, and I think one day I would do a Antichrist ranked type of out of all the Christian comics I'll cover, that probably might be a far future podcast installment, because there's only 3 so far, which to say a lot is like is like an overstatement. But there's like 3 different Antichrists, and we would rank all the 3 Antichrists and who I think is the best eventually. I kind of did it in this podcast too. Okay, so after really my train of thought, but mine kind of going everywhere looking at the script. But Hellsmite was resurrected by Lord Horn in the future 21st century, and when Hellsmite was resurrected, and they made sure, because they failed with the Nephilim resurrection procedure with Starstruck. So Starstruck became a hero. Even as a Nephilim, he became a hero or whatnot. At least that's how it's written. There's not a lot on him, at least of what I've covered. I do have 2 other issues. I have the God issue 1G.O.D issue 1 from Starcross that got remastered recently, as well as the Starstruck and Trashman collab. Starstruck and Trashman collaboration to cover. Recently got those issues from Joe Spicer, so we'll be reviewing them in the next couple weeks. But Hellsmite was the second iteration of the Nephilim cloning program, and this time around, when they did the cloning, they did their best to restore him with a lot of memories, a lot of his memories at the time that he died, so that when he got resurrected, he wouldn't just go mad and try to break out and try to free himself and all that. He was like, they wanted him to be willing to serve alongside Lord Dark in whatever evil plan they have. I don't know what is the motivation of Lord Dark yet, but Lord Dark has an evil plan. Not Lord Dark, Lord Horn. Lord Horn, not Lord Dark. Every time I said Lord Dark, is Lord Horn. But when they brought him into the future, he was looking for his Wormwood Scepter, which he didn't. He was looking for his Wormwood Scepter, which is what he had when he fought against the heroes. And realizing that he doesn't have his Wormwood Scepter, all their planning and everything that he would come back and side with us and whatnot went out the window because he went mad looking for his Wormwood Scepter and began to just body everybody. He put down Lord Horn. He fought everybody in the facility according to Biblical Proportions issue 2, and then he escaped out of the facility and disguised himself as Starstruck and then went tearing up the city and everything in search of his Wormwood Scepter. And after doing all like tearing up, fighting against the heroes and everything, he had the big confrontation with Starstruck and all the heroes in Biblical Proportions issue 2 because when he got his hands on the Wormwood Scepter, from how it is written in Biblical Proportions, is this it has the ability to, I think it will be explained more in issue 3 how it works, but it has the ability to rip through the different realms of the Starcross, not just the Starcross comics universe. Because what Biblical Proportions is, it's like a big collaboration of different faith-based and even non-faith-based indie comic stories, and it's just a big collaboration of all of them. And to explain it away, they just do it like these are different realms, different like universe. I call it the Christian multiverse, but it's not really Christian multiverse. At least the way it was portrayed from at least Starcross Presents is a really cool comic panel of Starcross Presents, like 3 page comic panel that like portrays the beginning of the Starcross universe with the Trinity and everything, biblically accurate, but in the form of multiverse creation. At least that's how it looked, like the infinite unknown of what is unknown to man, the possibility that they could be or they are multiverses or they're not real, just like fictional, of course, fictional in the fictional context, fictional con fictional context, to showcase how all these superheroes from different realms on different earths could come together and fight against Starstruck. At least that's how it's written into the story of biblical proportions for the sake of the biblical proportions concept and plot. So Hellsmite gets a scepter and he starts to tear a rift throughout the multiverse and all the heroes, and they begin to converge to eventually take down Hellsmite. And that's currently where the story is. The story ended with everyone getting a rendezvous point on where to meet up for further instructions, and Hellsmite getting his hand on the Wormwood Scepter and being prepared to like, really tear things asunder. That's where it is. But the concept of biblical proportions, though the execution was shaky at the beginning in issue 1, it issue 2 was more like a ground the story kind of thing. In issue 3, we really know where it really going. But I really like the whole Christian, I call it Christian multiverse concept. It's not really a Christian multiverse concept, but most of the characters in it are from faith-based creators. Not all the heroes are Christian themed. Well, a lot of the heroes that appear, and then to name a comic biblical proportions and not be faith-based is kind of kind of like a shoot in the foot, in my opinion. But it has been rather fate based. I mean, we have Nephilims and stuff running around, wanted to tear the multiverse apart and all that. So yeah, that is Hellsmite. Really cool character that is currently being developed as I speak, because issue 2 just came out the other day, and issue 3, I think, is coming out next year, if I'm not mistaken. So stay tuned if you want to know more about the Nephilim that is tearing the multiverse asunder. Next on the list, we have the most recent villain we have covered on the channel from the Alpha Red comic series that we recently just finished reviewing all 3 available issues of the series is Burning Skull and the Dark Organization. Another Starcross Comics connected character, Burning Skull is the leader of the Spirit City Dark Branch. He is feared by many for his ruthlessness. His real name is Jake Johnson, and he is the father of the fire elemental Scorcher. However, Jake Johnson is a normal human who hates superhumans more than anything. His metal Burning Skull suit was specifically created to unleash flames and to be resistant to them as well. Now he looks to continue his evil plans and bring Dark into full power over the entire world. And that character design is pretty cool. At least Brian Dawson's illustration of him in issue 3 was, I loved it. The whole flaming and everything. And then the more, I can't really say character develop. It's a character development. I mean, the villains have character development. The character development that have been given him as this just like ruthless, like he just shares licks to everybody for failing a mission. His son, the other operatives, they failed the mission, and he was just pelting lash and telling them how much of a failure they are and everything. And then in issue 3 of Alpha Red, he not Alpha Red, jeez. In issue 3 of a Red Talon, the Reds, the brain, so much comics, so much issues, so much characters trying to filter through. In issue 3 of Red Talon, he showed up on the scene to fight against Red Talon and the Red Talon's group doesn't have a group, so I call it Red Talon and Friends currently. He showed up to fight against Red Talon and Friends and he taunted Red Talon. He got his tail whooped by Red Talon. This one he thinks of Red Talon issue 3. I didn't really like too much because Red Talon was handing was giving him a good beating, but then it just so come up that Red Talon needs to surrender to Dark in order to get revenge, to really avenge his parents who Dark killed. Dark, yeah. To, in order to take down Dark, he needed Burning Skull to defeat him so that he could avenge his parents, who Burning Skull was tasked to kill when Red Talon was just a child. And this is another character. Not a lot. Well, I only have 3 issues of appearances of them to go off of. Not a lot of not a lot of extra information besides that. But so far his appearances has been very menacing, even more menacing than the not heroes, the villains that have popped up in the Remnant, which has 30 issues. He has a lot. He's a real real big bad so far in Red Talon, and I'm excited to see where they take Burning Skull. On like what is his motivation behind wanting Dark to like enact full world power over the entire world and those kind of evil plans. So yeah, at number 4 we have Burning Skull. Not a lot on him, just I love his character design, and so far what I have seen of him and Ken Keller's build up for him on how he has been developing him and putting him into the story, it's been quite enjoyable to see. And I really want to know I really excited to see where they take him, because they have a good foundation at least for him on how they're building him up, as well as with Dark, and making him this actual big bad threat rather than just their villain number 2 of the week, like they're the big bad threat of the series. Which takes us to number 3, hopping back across into the Remnant universe, we have Robotron. Now, Robotron is just Ultron set in in a fictional Christian universe where heroes are facing off against the premature rise of the Antichrist. That is it. That is, like, in a nutshell, that is Robotron. Official information on him: Robotron was born when a rogue scientist at an AI think tank built a prototype biological tech AI dubbed Robotron. The AI evolved faster than the scientist envisioned, and it went on to construct a new body and kill its creator. Apollyon, who was an investor in the project, convinced the now sentient AI to join his cause. So that is why I call him the AI program, the evil AI program that was sanctioned by the Antichrist. Because from that, Apollyon gave him his own island to build his sentries and everything on to continue to help Apollyon along with his plans and send the sentries out whenever Apollyon needs him to send sentries out to distract the remnant or do whatever data research and analysis that they need to get, which was seen in issue 3 of the remnant when the new recruits um, Calvary, Gemstar, and Atoman were recruited into the Remnant. Their first true mission was to go downtown and take out the Robotron sentries. But even though Robotron is working along Apollyon, Robotron doesn't agree with everything that Apollyon has in mind, as he doesn't get for all the spiritual aspects of it and the Antichrist and this and that. He don't care about that. He just Robotron is just self-programmed for world domination, or at least self. That's what his programming evolved to. That he just wants to wipe out humans and stuff. And right now, we have been continuing our top-down shooter Christian game, that I call it, of Parables of the Remnant issue 4, which was the issue that I was introduced to Robotron in, where Pink Spade and Kaylee were sent to this remote island to inspect the doings of Robotron to really see what Robotron was doing and what was going on with Robotron over there. And on the island, they learn of all his robots, well, sentries that he was constructing, and Haley, in the end, could kind of slow his plans down by destroying his reactor. But in the end of the comic, you see that Robotron continues to scheme and plot what his next move is about. And his next moves, at least what was revealed to us by Evan David in our podcast installment with him, Robotron has some big moves coming. And with the art that is being revealed for that issue, I honestly can't wait. The art so far by JB Reyes is, it seems like Robotron at least was able to enact part of his world domination plan. Maybe the cover that they've been teasing is probably just like a ruse for what the story is about. But I am quite excited to see what they do with Robotron in the upcoming issue of. Thing is, I don't know what issue of the Remnant it is. It's still to come out, but they've been teasing the art and the story panels for it, and it has been looking awesome. So Robotron is at number 3 of the villains we have covered on the channel, the one and only AI Antichrist system. Yeah. But on to number 2 is the Antichrist of the Remnant himself, Apollyon. Apollyon's early life is shrouded in mystery. Lucius A. Abaddon arrived on the political scene almost out of nowhere. Even his closest advisors and friends couldn't tell you much about the man. When they are questioned, they seem to go into a trance like state. Ignoring the fact that the man is an enigma, Apollyon is also a chairman for the Council of Nations. After exposing his abilities, he took the quote unquote superhero moniker of Apollyon and was asked to form a UN superpowered peacekeeping force. Issue 2. I think it's issue 2. Is it issue 2? I think it's Secret Files issue 2 of the Remnant. Is one of the best issues from the Remnant that floundered really badly because of a lack of editorial checking. Like there were a lot of spelling errors and stuff in it, and some of the pages, at least for the issue that I bought, had really bad mixed up spelling errors. Not just spelling errors, but like paragraph errors where um one of the info card for Robotron had the information for Pink Spade and Blue Flame and all that. But the story that was told in issue 2 of the Remnant Secret Files on the origin of Apollyon and how we came to the scene and this whole fictional take on the Antichrist and everything is one of my favorite introductions on the Remnant. Just because of how they laid down the background and lore for him on like dating it all the way back to the fall of Lucifer and eventually Apollyon's upbringing to becoming the Antichrist, the way Apollyon has like been woven into the Remnant story makes him one of my favorite characters. He hasn't had a couple of direct standoffs, but he has more so been working in the shadows, looking in the backgrounds. He has had one or two standoffs, direct standoffs with the Remnant, which is primarily in Remnant issue 4 on the Fight for Blue Flame's Soul. But just like how he's like presented as this mastermind working things together, deceiving the ones who are currently the Watchers by by appearing to them as the false gods they worship, giving them immense amount of power, then luring them into doing the red baptism and eventually being fully possessed by the demonic entities that are under his command, as well as leading into them losing the free will, as stated with what they do when they take the red baptism and allying themselves with Apollyon and the Antichrist. I really like it a lot. Now, I don't really have like a end times perspective on like pre-trib, post-trib, or mid-trib, or what is this, preterist or anything. I don't really have a full-blown perspective to it. So Remnant to me is just like fun Christian fiction. They have been people who like try to call it out in the comment section. But I just like the whole aspect of the superheroes and the that fight against the premature rise of the Antichrist, fighting alongside a apostle of Jesus Christ. Yes, John the apostle. The whole perspective of Remnant is on that verse, I think from John 23:21. I don't have it in front of me. But that verse that says, what if it was for John to live till Christ's return? What is that to Peter? And it took that verse as one of the main scriptures that the fictional story of the Remnant is anchored on, and have the Christian heroes who honor God, pray if some of them are past. I think one or two of them. No, we don't have a past as the hero yet. But yeah, like pray, honor God, and they have all been called. Some called, some decided to take the just like fight the good fight on their own, and in return, in the end, got connected with the remnant, and some were just defending their communities against all the evil in the world. Because even in the remnant itself, it says that not every remnant hero is Christian. Not every remnant hero is Christian, but it's all about those who assemble to align themselves with the heroes, which are Christian, to fight against Apollyon and his premature rise, as well as those who miss the rapture. I don't know, the Remnant hasn't done much with that. It was like teased on that. On some of they will be like left behind. I will continue to fight that fight during the tribulation period. Not as the Remnant has, it is 30 issues deep, but there's a lot of like world building kind of stuff. The story is really now beginning to pick up pace towards the Bill is just building a really cool sandbox. That's what it really is. He's building a really cool sandbox. Not much direct story because we're now going into the fifth issue of the mainline Remnant books, whereas we have 9 issues of Parables books taking just looking at the adventures of all the different heroes. But even though all of them have disconnected stories, it all ties back into their fight against Apollyon. And what I like about it really much is that Apollyon is unredeemable. Like he is no anti-hero. He is just straight evil. There's no redemption for Apollyon. He is just like he is Satan's right hand man in that sense on the earth, and Bill writes him like Satan right hand man, and he writes the villains that surround and willingly are deceived and then willingly give themselves into Apollyon to be empowered by him. He just writes them as pure villains. They are not like these anti-heroes. There's some in there like Warrior and Blue Flame who got the chance of redemption, but it's just pure evil. And I've been reading a lot of like other stories well, Marvel stories in particular recently, as well. I didn't watch it, but if you saw the pop culture discussions on Acolyte, is where evil has been merged into good, where there's no longer like hard definitive evil in a lot of stories recently. Is more a case of, oh, well, that's just your perspective of what evil is. Even though what they portraying to be good is like pure evil. But Apollyon, he's just like the true north, like the Antichrist, the true north of evil and demonic influence, full stop. And that's one of the reasons why I like him a lot and take him as like an archetype for my even my own fictional writing that I am currently in the process of penning, is that true north of evil, which is the devil in Christian fiction. He embodies that within the Remnant stories. Like, seeing panels with Apollyon cussing, I don't really take issue with it because, I mean, he's evil. Or doing like demonic rituals and all that, it's different because it's like the he is the Antichrist. He is the full fledged like demonic influence on the earth incarnate, pretty much. So that's one of the main reasons why I like him and Bill Rob's approach to him. It sounds weird saying it sometimes. It's like I'm endorsing evil, but I'm endorsing evil in the right context, which I don't know if my words make much sense here, but it's more so in like where a lot of stories all about the subjectivity of evil, and well, if we're using witchcraft for good purposes to save the world, it's all right. Like in our um look at Christian superheroes in a superpowered world, where we look at Doctor Fate and Nightcrawler, a lot of people in the comments, script professing Christians that were like in justification of witchcraft in all those things because, well, at least you're using it for good. And God would understand if you're using witchcraft and demonic influences for the sake of good. And Apollyon at least is like, especially like, as I say, but modern, a lot of modern stuff that have been coming out, evil has been subjectified into, well, that's just evil from your perspective. Where even if like I watch a lot of social commentary in regard to like folks like the Sparrow and Heel versus Babyface and stuff, where they break down the madness that was the Acolyte, and just like the weird, not weird, but like just the twisting of good and evil into being this whole like gray pool of, well, it's just evil from your perspective, and in reality of what they're presented is just pure evil. And to see evil being presented as just like pure evil, no up, no down, no maybe Apollyon could change his heart, like, no, he's evil, he's the Antichrist, full stop. And he will do what the Antichrist is made to do in this fictional content of the in this fictional context of the Remnant. So yeah, that's Apollyon at number two on my list. I hope I made I hope I made sense of what I was my train of thought there with comparing what I like about the Remnant in regards to how they portray evil with Apollyon and all these demonic influences in a Christian comic. I like that approach to it rather than the what I see in a lot of secular style of comics that, well, demonic influence and stuff could be subjected to being good because at least we're using the demonic powers and stuff for good, even though it's all fiction. You guys know I have a lot of videos on the channel on my disdain towards those kind of storylines, and for Pauline to be like that true 100% subjectivity of evil is evil, full stop. In the story, there's nobody in the Remnant who is dabbling in demonic powers and fighting for Christ. There's none of that. If you're fighting with demons, or if you're using demons and stuff for a superpower in the Remnant, here's a watcher, or you fight on the side of Apollyon. You ain't fighting for Christ. Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to get at. That's Apollyon at number two. At number one for my favorite villain type character of all the Christian comics we've covered is Alistair Morgan from the Black Blossom. Because Alistair Morgan's suit is rather dapper. One of the best design characters that I've seen throughout all the I should also do a tier list like that eventually. Of all the best character designs of everyone. I like Alistair Morgan's silver face and suit is one of my favorite designs. I think I say that about a lot of people because I have a lot of favorite designs. After you cover 60 comics, you get a lot of favorites. But Alistair Morgan's official background, at least from one of the Starcross um character breakdowns, is in addition to his own personal fortune, Alistair commands an extensive shadow network of soldiers, technicians, and wealthy acolytes known collectively as Ascension. They have access to bleeding edge technology in weapons, vehicles, satellites, and a few secret projects. After its founding, Ascension vanished from the grid, managing to stay off radar from even the most tenacious of intelligence agencies. Now, that is a very, very short drop in the bucket of Alistair Morgan in Black Blossom and why he is my favorite villain. If you haven't read Black Blossom issues 1 to 7 and don't want that story spoiled, I would recommend that you click off of the podcast here and go pick it up over at Starcross Comics. Support the boy Evan David because I'm about to drop all the info in regards to Alistair Morgan right now. So Alistair Morgan, when he was a young boy, his mom succumbed to, I think it was cancer. I cannot remember 100%. I believe it was cancer. His mom succumbed to cancer, and he prayed that his mom would be saved, that she would be healed, and that she wouldn't die. But his mom, unfortunately, passed away, and when she passed, he grew a hatred for God, and he became an atheist from his hatred for God for allowing his mother to pass away, regardless of how much his mom prayed or how much he prayed and his family prayed. God still allowed his mother to die. And from becoming a atheist, he made it his main mission in life to disprove God in every facet and corner of every facet and corner. Like when it comes to every like scientific discoveries, anything that he could do to disprove God, he wanted to. And the pinnacle of that the pinnacle of that journey of disproving God was he amassed a lot of fortune and wealth and the secret organization Ascension, and started going into of um research of extraterrestrial life. He started to communicate with extraterrestrial life. And in communicating with extraterrestrial life, I believe there's also some paleontological findings that he had as well, like dinosaur bone findings that kind of adjusted his belief finding dinosaur bones with human bones, giving him more considerations to take into factor with his research. But as I say, the pinnacle of his journey of disproving God was when he started to communicate with extraterrestrial life. And in communicating with extraterrestrial life, he got an answer back. And the answer back was from this being named Monarch, who existed, or at least how it was presented, existed on a different dimensional or existed in a different dimension. And they contacted with him and all that. And he, at least how it was written, it was like, finally, I have these aliens exist or whatnot. So they therefore disproving God and being some different dimensions. But what Monarch came and tell him is like, oh no, the God of the Bible is real. He's really real. We believe in him. Like we believe in him. And he gave Alistair Morgan the whole rundown of the fall. Like the fall of Satan and the angels from heaven. And from that, well, Evan David did clarify that Monarch is not a demon. He is a being from a different dimension. And all of that whole extraterrestrial aspects is inspired from a C.S. Lewis novel of the same nature of doing a kind of what if of a life on other planets. Or I can't remember, I don't like speaking on things I'm not 100% sure on, but that is what most of the nature of it that Evan David interjected into Black Blossom. But at the time when I reviewed it, I viewed the Monarch. He was like, he looked like a demon. He sounded like a demon. He is a demon. That's how I wrote it up, but it's not a demon. But from the perspective that he was a demon, to me at the time, it was like, this is a whole James I think I can't remember the scripture, but that scripture in James where it says, "Behold, you believe in God, that is good. For even demons believe in Him and tremble." And the fact that they took this whole angle of the main kind of like villain archetype of the story, this this believe in God and everything, doesn't believe in God, he doesn't believe in God, just doesn't believe in God, decides that no, he believes in God because he was introduced to God from an extra dimensional being that tells him like, no, the God of the Bible is real and everything you know about God is real. Was like, that's the first time I've ever seen that concept done in any of the comics I've covered, and I was blown away last year August when I read this comic. And from that, Monarch and Alistair Morgan began to concoct a plan of how they would then go and take salvation. They would then how a plan to take salvation without going through God, because Monarch knows how to get to the how to get into paradise without using without salvation through Christ. And that was the whole thing where, well, that's the whole thing on what Ascension was built on that idea of building this extraterrestrial device that could punch whatever hole through space and dimensions that would get them to heaven without needing to go through salvation through Christ. So in comes, they build the Omni tool, which is what Michi, the Black Blossom herself, the suit that she uses, was in one of their testings of the device that they were building. There was a malfunction where it eventually ended up in Michi's hands, giving her the ability of what she does as a Black Blossom to create all kinds of constructs using the suit and just whatever powers that she could imagine. That's what the suit was doing, and with it, their plan was to use it to open a portal to heaven. And they captured Michi, kidnapped her, and gave her the whole rundown like, no. Michi as well was an atheist. Michi didn't believe in God or anything like that. She thought all of that was just mad mumbo jumbo, all kind of religious nonsense that Alistair was speaking. As well as with having Monarch and everything, it was like, I don't understand what's going on, but I know it's just like, they say it no God related nonsense or whatnot. And along the story, I think in issue 4 or 5, they persuade her that like, no, like all of this is real. I hate it. I hate the fact that it's real. And Alistair Morgan went from being just an atheist to Mr. Theist, which is someone who doesn't really believe in God, but hates the idea of God and wants everyone to hate God. So Alistair Morgan went down that whole route of like hating God and want everybody to hate God, and he has the whole ascension. I pretty much call it a cult, the ascension cult, because that is what they were portrayed as. And and with Michi, they were able to open the portal to heaven. They got her to use the suit to open the portal to heaven. And Alistair Morgan was excited. It was like everything I've spent all my fortune on, getting all these people rallied together for the wealth and everything. They were celebrating. They were happy that they finally punched this hole through space, open, got all the information from this extraterrestrial entity, well, extraterrestrial being, Monarch, and whatever other beings that were helping them alongside, and they got their space they got their device, punch the hole through space, and have this gateway that leaded them to heaven. And they were excited and about to step into heaven. And I don't know, I think the plan was to overthrow God or show God that we don't need you or whatnot. They were ambitious. Their goal was ambitious. And with ambitious goals could sometimes come ambitious, very like amazing rewards from the ambitious goals, or horrendous failure from the amount of hubris it takes to pursue a goal like that. Because from their ambitious goal, they did open a portal to heaven, but something emerged out of that portal to heaven, and it was none other than the same angel from Ugg the Battler wielding the two swords. The cherubim angel that was appointed to guard the gate of heaven. That same cherubim exit through that portal and was like, listen, stop what you're doing and be spared. Continue and be put down. Simple order, simple instructions, nothing more, nothing less. And Alistair was just like, I am going to achieve what I want to achieve, and I do not care. And the angel like warn him again, stop, you have been warned, stop and be spared. Alistair was like, nope. He told his whole military to open fire on the angel. And the angel was like, fine, bet. And turned Alistair into a crisp. Just annihilated him from like just burnt him to ash and asunder. Not like nothing else, nothing more. Just like snap of a finger. Alistair was gone. Disappear. End of Alistair's story. He has not appeared in anything else in Black Blossom ever since. That that issue like changed my whole paradigm. It was like why I kind of like simp Evan David stories, because it hit me. It it was the way it was written, the build up, the 5 issue build up to that, into that culmination in issue. I think that was issue 5 or whatnot, of just the motivation of Alistair, the relentlessness, the like literally angel appears before you, telling you like stop what you're doing, please listen. You don't know what powers you handling with here. Stop. And I think it was like stop and be. I don't know if it was stop and be. It was stop. It was a warning. It was like stop and be spit. I'm like, this realm is guarded. Just stop. And he was relentless. He was like, no, I am not going to stop. And not stopping, instantly just got turned to ash. And from that is what led Michi to Christ, because from that she got PTSD of that moment. And from the PTSD of that moment, ended up like meeting a pastor, gave him all the questions that she had and all that, and eventually accepted. I believe she eventually accepted salvation by the annual. But it's weird to say. I know it's weird to say that my favorite character is the one who got disintegrated early in the story, because it was like issue 4. He got disintegrated into the story. But it's how Evan David wrote Alistair Morgan is why I love him so much. Why I love the story, both Evan David, I love his writing, and the character of Alistair Morgan, because the way he built him up made him this like just only writing around him. It's like Evan David's writing is hard for me to really articulate. You have to read it to understand it, because I don't do Evan's writings justice when I just ramble about. Like, I've been rambling for a while, and it's one of some of my favorite comics. It's just like, I don't know. It's mainly because like Evan is the only person I've seen write the sovereignty of God into Christian fiction. Like a lot of it from what I've covered so far has been like putting like really going deep on the making like taking superhero concepts into taking applying superhero concepts into like Christian theme stuff. So it's like the superhero stuff first, then the Christian theme stuff after. But then is for Evan is like he deals with topics where it's like hard theological concepts like sovereignty of God and stuff first, and then comes the whole aspects of the superhero elements of it. Because the way he writes it and the way he puts it together is why Alistair Morgan is my favorite. I lost for words. It's crazy. I lost for words because it's like it's hard to really articulate what my brain is be thinking when I'm reading Evan David's stories. Like for one of it, like the story of how we presented all this thing with Monarch and stuff. I literally asked my sister if she wanted to voice act Michi and Alistair with me, because it was hard. It was hard to summarize what he was talking about. Like to summarize it, the script was really hard to summarize because the conversation that was going down between them, it was so good that to summarize it felt like an injustice of the man's writing. And yeah, it's like Alistair Morgan, we pushed. He was really cool. He was a really cool villain. When they did the whole how they kidnapped Michi and everything that they orchestrated, it was a really cool moment. But in the end, is because of how it showcases sovereignty of God and even like mercy in a situation like that is like, yeah, you're pushing and whatnot. You understand everything, you understand everything. But at the same time, stop. And he didn't stop. And he got what he pretty much deserved when it comes to the sovereignty of God. It's like you open a portal to heaven and an angel literally come before you and like, dude, stop what you're doing. And you're like, no, no, you keep pushing. And the only thing after that, when you're dealing with that aspect of the sovereignty of God in that aspect, is you just get turned into a pile of ash. I probably sounds sadistic the way I talk about these stories, but that's just how it is. That's just the best I can articulate it. Because really and truly, I have nothing else. Look, I would just keep talking in circles. So yeah, Alistair Morgan is my favorite comic. Is the favorite villain of the comics we've covered simply because of how his life ended. It's weird, I know. It sounds sadistic. It sounds wrong, I know. But it is just how it just it blew me away. It really blew me away. Evan Davis writing in that story, it honestly blew me away. And I highly recommend that you check out Black Blossom issues 2 to 4. We'll just check out all of Black Blossom issues 1 to 7. Eventually, we're gonna go back and see what Evan David has been cooking with that series. But that Alison Morgan, the whole story behind it and the build up to that moment. Because then the even funnier thing about it is that after Alistair died and everything, Michi confronts Monarch, the extraterrestrial being that was feeding Alistair Morgan all the information and everything on like why did you lead him to this? Like, are you not sad that you failed? Like you led Alistair to like the portal to heaven and you guys couldn't take salvation for yourself because whatever that thing is emerged and came and ended him. And Monarch was just like, but yeah, that was like I know, like Monarch literally was telling her like, yeah, that was a stupid plan Alistair had from the get-go. I just helped him along. But that never was part of my plan. That was Alistair's plan. I knew it was stupid from the get-go. I just helped him along to achieve it for my own intents and purposes. And that too was just like, ah. I tell you, you have the is Black Blossom is one of those comics where you have to read it to read. I cannot summarize it properly. I feel like I don't do a good job summarizing it, and I just talking myself in circles. No, which is where we gonna. Well, I'm gonna reread. I'm gonna reread all those issues of Black Blossom now. So, yeah, I'm gonna reread those issues of Black Blossom, and I highly recommend you check it out via the comments because that is where we would end this podcast. Because I really have nothing else I could add or say. That's just it. This is my list of my favorite villains that I have come across from the comics that we have covered on the Xplanations channel doing reviews for. So yeah, that's it for this installment of the Kedoshim Initiative Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling or my off-topic stuff, and yeah, that's how we'll end this episode of the podcast. Hope you have a great rest of your week and everything, and see you guys again next month for our interview with the one and only Joe Spicer. We should have that interview with Joe Spicer. If anything, I don't know. I have to find a topic to talk about. But yeah, that's it. God bless and love you all for tuning in and spending that hour and 23 minutes with me. Bye.